Good morning. It is a special Friday edition of the morning break. And I know you're probably not here because you don't normally see me, or if you're new here, that's what I was going to say. We do this usually Monday through Wednesday. We're going to make special uh, exceptions going forward. The reason being, so many neat guests that want to be on the show, including today. My buddy Anthony's going to be with us, and Anthony Curnutt, he does a show called it's a podcast, by the way, and and I'm going to have him explain a lot more about it. And you know what I just did? I just totally killed the name of his show. How terrible is that? It's here somewhere. It's in my paperwork. I got lots of paperwork. Really don't use much of it. It's called Real Men Talk. It's obvious I don't use very much of it because it's all there, and I had to flip 20 pages to find the name of the show. Anthony's going to be with us. We're going to talk about being a real man. We're going to do that coming up in a little bit. Real men like to eat. By the way, today is National Gingerbread Cookie Day, just so you know. I had to do a special, even if Anthony hadn't been on, I had to do a special show about gingerbread cookies. And also, today is National Stuffing Day. Now, here's the big debate, and I find this to be very interesting. A lot of people talk about this, but is it stuffing or dressing? Which camp do you? I think in my family we've always called it stuffing. I didn't know that there was as big a debate as there has been about it since I started mentioning it 3 weeks ago on the show, and now there is team stuffing and there is team dressing. And to be honest with you, and I probably should. I should probably do some more research on that and figure out the difference. And I'm sure there is a difference between stuffing and dressing. Maybe Anthony knows. We'll ask him later in the show. By the way, we are 1 week away from Black Friday. And here's my opinion on this. And I don't know how I feel about this. Have you noticed Black Friday no longer is really Black Friday, but it's October till Christmas? Yeah, big study about that. Retail study showing that retailers are pushing Black Friday all the way into October. They found an advertising this year for Black Friday, but I get it, and I get it. They're trying to sell more. It looks like this year, Christmas shopping and Christmas spending going to top the 1 trillion. That's trillion with a T. More and more people are going to be using credit cards. In fact, 42% of Americans said they're going to be using credit cards this year and putting stuff on their credit cards. And in fact, this coming weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, they're going to put a lot on their credit cards. The report says somewhere around $127 billion will go on your credit card. Are you one of those people? Do you put Christmas presents on your credit card and then regret paying your January bill? Yes, I do. I try not to. We say every year, Kristen and I say every year that we're not going to, that we're not going to let this become part of our landscape for the new year. But unfortunately, the reality is it does happen. And it's kind of interesting because for Kristen and I, and this is a big study this year, they call it hybrid shopping, where you order online, like from Target or all kinds of Kohl's, all kinds of these places have it. And it's called hybrid shopping. You'll order online. And I know also Bath and Body Works does this, where you order online and then you go pick it up in the store. So it's called hybrid shopping. That's up 56% this year. And I don't know. I liked it. I personally, as I get older, I don't like going and shopping. Now, when we were younger, and if you know me, you know I have a fascination with malls. I do because my family had some transactions in the mall world in the early 80s and into the 90s, where we were part of a group of people that did work at malls. And I've always had a fascination for malls, had that interest, but I don't know, this hybrid thing of going and picking up your stuff after you've ordered it online is kind of interesting. other interesting thing before we leave the topic of shopping, Thanksgiving, and the holidays, interesting thing this year is this is the first year we're going to top over 50% of people shopping digitally, meaning they're using Amazon, they're using apps. I have apps on my phone now where the company's Nordstrom's is notorious for this. In fact, to the point I have now turned off. Sorry, guys. Hey, listen, I'm from Seattle. I love Nordstrom's. It's one of my favorite stores, but I've turned off your notifications because I get 3 of them a day during this time of year. Sorry. When the season's over, I will turn my notifications back on. But so I can make sure I get my frangos and all that stuff that I need to get even after the holiday. But yes, gingerbread cookie, National Gingerbread Cookie Day. I don't know why they picked today. And stuffing day. Here's the other thing about the stuffing day, National Stuffing Day. Why are you doing it a week before Thanksgiving? I mean, I'm not throwing any shade. I love stuffing, but a week before Thanksgiving, I don't know. It just feels wrong. Hey, listen, I want to thank the great folks at 7 Weeks Coffee, 7weekscoffee.com. Use the promo code ATV10 when you shop. And I've talked about this a lot, and you've heard me say it here on the show, is that small roasted, small batch coffee is a game changer. Now, when my wife became familiar with this company, it was about 8 months ago now when we were in Texas, my wife became aware of 7 Weeks Coffee. And I was going to do what I normally do, and that's order a dark roast coffee. My wife said, no, Rob, you need to get a variety pack, see what you like. And you know what the reality is? I like them all. They're all different. They all have different notes. And the neat part about it is when you get a small batch, small roast coffee, it's going to taste fresh. Now, for me personally, because I like to get in the game, I like to be a part of my coffee making in the morning. I get whole beans, but they've got K-cups and also ground coffee. Personally, I like the fact that I feel like I'm doing something when I make my coffee other than putting it in the coffee pot. So check out the great folks at 7 Weeks Coffee. That's 7weekscoffee.com. Use the promo code ATV10. Anthony's going to be with us momentarily when we come back from the break.
Behind every precious life, there was a choice. Behind every family moment, behind every special memory, there was a choice. A life of joy, a life that is beautifully and wonderfully made. At 7 Weeks Coffee, we are funding the pro-life movement, one cup at a time. Will you let your coffee serve a greater purpose?
Love the great folks. 7 Weeks Coffee. Use the promo code ATV10. And this dude, this guy's been like a friend of mine. If I could grow a beard like this, I would totally rock one. But I look homeless every time I let my beard. This is about as far as I go. And then I just look homeless. But Anthony Curnutt is with us. I say it right? Did I get it right?
Curnutt.
Curnutt.
Yeah, it's all right. I don't mind. I get called all kinds of stuff.
I do too. My last name is like a train wreck for most people. But he's got a great thing. And congratulations, buddy. By the way, 200 episodes. Real Men Talk.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
And that's incredible. My wife says we shouldn't talk. Most of the time she goes, I shouldn't talk. But you're telling me that as a real man, I should talk. And it's fun to have you here on the show. By the way, start us off, stuffing or dressing?
Like, man, you were sitting there talking about that. My daughter just asked me this question I don't know, 3 days ago or something like that. I have no idea. I love dressing though, right? Is typically the way we go, put a little bit of chicken in it, or turkey or whatever, that's my preference. I'm not a huge stuffing guy. I think it's just weird.
So what's the difference?
I think the only difference is the fact that it's stuffed inside of a turkey.
Huh. Well, now we don't do that, just so that everybody doesn't freak out. We do not eat the stuffing that's inside the stuff inside the bird, just so because I can see the emails and the stuff on the app coming through going, that's not healthy for you. It's we don't, but we still call it stuffing. Now, I don't know why that is. So yeah, I like dressing. Now, my mom used to make one with sausage, little pieces of sausage in it.
Mm-hmm. I've
That
never
was
had that.
good.
I bet it's good.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that was
I'm a big
legit.
guy. I mean, I'm so looking forward to Thanksgiving. Yes, I'm going to
Okay,
eat.
so I've been doing this because I kicked off the month about being thankful and stuff, and so I started talking about food because that's what I'm thankful for as a guy. Um, and so, what is the one thing that you look forward to next week for Thanksgiving? What are you looking forward to? The one food item during Thanksgiving you're looking forward to?
Oh man, if I could pick one thing, it's got to be turkey.
Okay,
No, no,
so
no, no, ham. No, it's got to be ham. It'd be protein.
it's both. We're gonna go with both. See, I saw this trending thing, and I'm not. My wife won't let me in the kitchen because I'll burn the house down. So I suggested this. There is this big trend out there now about crock pot turkeys, where you put
No,
the turkey in the crock pot, and then you put cranberry sauce over top of it.
no,
I'm just
no,
not sure. I'm not sure
no,
how I feel. I feel
no.
conflicted, Anthony.
Listen, I know this is live. This may be conflicted. I'm a man. I'll smoke my turkey, and because that's what we do, right? We smoke meats.
Well, and here's the thing that Jason's doing. He's deep frying his.
Oh, they're good deep fried too.
Jason Webb, my co-host on Thrive, he's going to Phoenix actually, and he's going to deep fry a turkey. That's one of two turkeys he's doing.
Yeah,
And see, I don't know. I for me, and this is tough because I like smoked meat, I like deep fried stuff, but to me on Thanksgiving, it's kind of a holiday thing, and it's got to be the roasted turkey.
the
It
roasted
just
turkey.
feels like Charlie Brown, Macy's Day Parade, and smoke and turkey that is roasted, just regular good old fashioned turkey.
Well, you can't go as long as it's juicy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's I'll eat it. It doesn't matter what it is.
Worst thing that ever happened. So you know this, but a lot some of our viewers probably don't. Is Chris and I only been married 4 years, and so year one, I thought I was going to get really smart and make turkey, and that thing was so dry. It had desert feel to it. It was so dry. It would just disintegrate right there on the plate.
That's funny.
Yeah, so that was the last time my wife let me in the kitchen during the holidays, and that's kind of it. Now, I want to ask you a question because I love this. You talk about biblical masculinity,
Yes.
and tell everybody a little bit about your definition of this, and because I really believe we live in a time now where men are hurting first and foremost, and men are like struggling to figure out their identity.
Yes. Well, and, I mean that's key right there, Rob. With culture the way that it is, right? I mean, we cannot define a woman, and if you cannot define a woman, you cannot define a man.
Yep.
We have no idea who we are. We're being pulled by feminists. We're being pulled by this. We're being pulled in all these different directions. We have no idea who we are, what we're supposed to be, and culture. Even when it does tell us what we're supposed to be, we're supposed to be these hard, unemotional, tyrants that rule everything that we do. You know what I mean? And that's not biblical. The Bible talks about us serving our wives as Christ served the church, and loving our wives as Christ loved the church. And when you look at Christ, he was a servant leader. So as a man, when you look at biblical masculinity, you could always go to Jesus, right? He was the most biblical masculine man. So if you want to know what a man is supposed to be, you look at Jesus. Jesus served the church. He washed his disciples' feet. It's funny. I was just talking about this I talk about this all the time, but I was just talking about this the other day in our life group. We were talking about marriage and different things, and it's funny because as men, when we think of serving our wives, we think of, protecting our wives. And we like that, we own guns and we're big, strong men, we grow big beards and, we do all this stuff and we like to protect and we like to work, right? We like to bring money home and we all that stuff. But what about washing the dishes? Right? What about serving her in the capacity that she needs to be served? What about giving her a break from the kids? What about, all of these things that she needs that Jesus cares enough about us to do, right? I mean, he washed his disciples' feet. It was a servant position to do. And when it comes to serving our wives and when it comes to serving our families, if you're going to lead properly, you need to lead from a place of servanthood.
I love that. And it's sometimes like it's, and especially I have found, and again, I am not an expert when it comes to marriage. 4 years does not count yet as even knowing anything, but it's even the little things. It's like helping with things that they may not think of. Mm-hmm. And got to be honest, as a guy, we don't sometimes think of. It becomes right. a light bulb moment. I go, ooh, I could do that. And then she goes, that was awesome. And I'm like, huh. I should have done that before.
Yes. I've been married for 23 years and it's still that way sometimes.
But I think that's so important because men, I think, struggle with, and we don't like to talk about it, but we struggle with our identity of like, hey, listen, am I important? We may not say it. We may not come out and verbalize, hey, listen, I need to know that I'm important and valued in your life. And sometimes, we as men act tough. We do the things, like you said, I'll go mow the lawn. I'll go do these things that need to be done. And I think really God wants us to be affirmed by our mate. And sometimes we need to affirm our mate. Don't you? I mean, as real men, I think culturally, we've forgotten that our wife is our helpmate. And sometimes we forget to tell them, hey, listen, I appreciate you. I appreciate you doing this for me.
Whoa, yeah, 100%. Well, here's the thing. When you look throughout the parables that Jesus talked about the pearl, right? And finding the pearl, and then the person goes back and sells everything he has and comes back and buys that pearl, right? And there's a lot of context we don't have time to fill in there, but that's the way Jesus viewed the church, right? He gave everything for the church. And when you look at the mandate on a man's life to serve his wife, to serve his family, it is the same thing. Yes, we absolutely should affirm. My wife, even though it doesn't always feel that way, right? I mean, let's be honest, right? We're two imperfect people in an imperfect world. We both get on each other's nerves. I'm sure that I get on her nerves a lot more than she does mine. But but here's the thing: she is the greatest gift God has given me outside of my salvation, outside of Himself. Right. And she needs to be treated as that gift. If somebody gives you a precious gift, I tell you what, I have a gun my dad gave me whenever I was young. It's a 30-30, and it was passed down to him. It is, and I don't even take that gun hunting anymore. Right. It's valuable. I don't want anybody to touch it. I don't want anybody, right. And it is a precious gift to me. My wife is a precious gift to me. My children are a precious gift to me that needs to be treated as a gift. They need to be treated not as a possession, as the world would almost portray them as, right? But as a gift. Don't get me wrong. I'm still the man of the house. I still have decisions to make. I still have to be a father. I still have to discipline, right? Because I love them, right? But in that sense, they are gifts and they should be treated like that. And yes, our wives should be affirmed consistently. My wife should never go, in my opinion, my wife should never go a day without realizing how beautiful and amazing she is.
And I think that that's so important, and our culture has gotten to a point, and maybe I just look at it this way, but you can tell me, is where for us men we have to be almost separate. Like we're not a couple as a husband and wife, but these are the things that I do, and and we've almost like, it's this, I call it a man cave theory, where I go to this place and this is where I am. My wife does whatever she does, but I don't think that's really biblical. And now, don't get me wrong, there are times we both need our separate
Right.
spaces.
Yes.
And please don't send hate mail going, Rob, I need my time alone. I do too. I get that, man. But I think we've become almost like couples are separated, but and then trying to function together. What do you think?
Right. Well, I think it's a lot of it has to do with the culture of me, right? Our culture has created this space of everything that I do, everything that I am is about me, right? How do I gratify me? How do I appease me? Yes. And you're right. There are moments when we need our alone time, right? It's important for her to have Christian women in her life to to help her to answer questions that she don't want to talk to me about, to talk about women things, to all that stuff. And it's important for me to have men in my life that help me become a better man, to talk about things that I don't necessarily want to talk to her about, stuff like that. I mean, we're men, they're women.
Yep.
We don't understand everything, right?
Or anything.
Or anything. That's right. Or anything. 100%.
I was Anthony's bold there. We don't understand everything. Just be honest with you. If you're a guy watching this, we don't understand a thing. We're guessing most of the time.
Most of the time, right? If only I say all the time, I wish God would just use like flashing billboards, right? It would be so much easier. Oh my goodness. Trying to figure everything out, because there's no blueprints for life, right? You know what I mean? My marriage looks different than your marriage, and my family looks different than your family, and everybody's looks different, right? It's just, it's the way it is. But what we have to understand is that our marriages are a testimony of, so what's so vitally important about a marriage, it is the perfect representation of Christ's relationship with the church, right? So our marriages are a living testimony of Christ's relationship with the church. And if we understand that it needs to be nurtured as that, just like we have to spend time with Christ, right? We need devotion. We have to be intentional about our devotion time, our prayer time, to grow it closer to. The same thing applies to our wives, right? We have to be intentional about growing closer to her. Never stop dating her, always loving on her, right? Providing for her, protecting for her, and serving her, right? Her needs above my own.
Yep. And I think that's what you talked about, the me culture. That's what's so difficult. So let's say, Anthony, there's a guy listening right now and he says, man, I want this. What are 3 steps he should start to take right now? And I know one of them you're going to say, but I want you to tell everybody, what are the 3 steps they need to start doing to be more of what God wants them to be?
Well, everything's intentionality, right? Being intentional and disciplines. Neither as men, we don't like either one of those words, right? We just fly by the seat of our pants all of the time. You know what I mean? Like, we're just like, oh, I'm going to do this. Boom. I'm going to do it. Right. We don't think things through. We don't, we just do, but being intentional and being disciplined. Whenever I say being disciplined, you have to be in your word. Right? I tell people a minimum of 4 times a week. There are so many studies about the life of a man that is in his word at least 4 times a week. And I say this because everybody's like, oh, you should be in your word every day, and you should be. But let's be real honest. We all have lives. Things happen, right? Be intentional about a minimum, right? We're talking minimum of 4 times a week, right? be in your word, praying. We're going to put those two together, right? Be in your word and praying, and be intentional about your leadership, right? And I cannot express this enough. Your influence is one of the most important tools God has given you, right? You will not influence anybody neutrally. Okay. You can walk into a room where there is nobody, right? Nothing is going on. You may not say a word. You're going to walk in that room, you're going to walk back out, and you're going to leave a measure of influence. It'll be positive or it'll be negative. Knowing and understanding that your influence dictates what happens around you in your marriage, in your fatherhood, right? At your church, at Walmart, right? All of these things. We don't think about these things, but it's true, right?
You're nailing it.
And then also find brothers.
Yep.
Find brothers. You have to have other men in your life. It is another tool that God has given us. I tell people all the time, I look at Jesus in the garden, right? So Jesus is getting ready to be crucified, and he's in the garden. He's praying. He said, Lord, if there's any other way, let this cup pass me by, but your will, not my will, right? Peter, James, and John was sitting on the outside of the garden. They were supposed to be praying. Jesus comes back to me and he's like, hey, could you not pray with me for 1 hour? Right? For the longest time, I thought that they were supposed to be learning something, but that's not the case. In this moment, in Jesus's flesh, he needed them.
Yep.
He's like, could you not just pray with me for 1 hour? Like, I just need your support. I need you to know that I need to know that you care. I need to know that you understand what's happening, right? And if Jesus in his flesh needed them, who are we not to need other people?
Hey, right? Buddy, it is so awesome having you on the show. It's called Real Men Talk. Episode number 200 just dropped. Anthony, we're going to have you on again. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Great event coming up next year, Orlando, Florida. We're going to be there. We hope you are also. U.S. Christian Chamber of Commerce. If you're a Christian businessman, this is something you need to be a part of. And we are super excited about that. Thanks to Anthony for being with us. Real Men Talk, 200 episodes. You're going to see more and more of Anthony across the network. I promise you, a man that really has a true heart for God. What a cool way to have a special Friday edition of the Morning Break. I appreciate each and every one of you. And I think we're going to do more of these. I think we're going to see more and more Friday editions. I know my wife would love it. My wife would love me to do this Monday through Friday. She also, though, has to understand that I do actually have other things I need to do. But I appreciate you. Hey, remember, you can find us on the app, on Abundant TV, or on your favorite social media platform, including LinkedIn. And I want to take a quick second before we leave. If you haven't joined Act Social yet, and my wife and I were so impressed with it that we became a corporate sponsor for Act Social, actssocial.com. That's actsocial.com. When you go there, use my name as your referral, and then go follow me, and then follow the fastest growing group on Act Social. That is the Abundant Group. And it has been a blast. Thanks again to Anthony for being with us on the special Friday edition of Morning Break. We'll see you Monday. Man, just around the corner. We'll see you then.